I was 2 years old. I had what I later learned that it was a spiritual, life-changing experience. I didn't even know that until many years later. Then when I was in my 20s, I actually drowned, and it was a life review. That was considered a life review, which changed my life. Then in 2012, I actually had a very, very serious car accident where my small car was hit by an SUV, and it spinned around on the road for a while, and then I stopped breathing, and I found myself above the car, and this, it looked like a platform, and it was surrounded by white light with 9 entities in the middle. And Jack helped me with creating. We talked many times. He asked many questions. He did the artwork of the 9 entities in that space. So that will be in the book. And one thing I can say about my experiences, especially the last one, everything got intensified as far as my hearing, my physical hearing, with my spiritual hearing, like psychic information got very much stronger since 2012, and the sensitivity is much stronger. I actually, when I went to the doctor to check my hearing, he sat with me and he said, people your age, see this?
That wasn't nice.
No, it's people it's supposed to go down, not up. So my physical hearing got better. I hear things that I don't even want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can say for now. Just.
Well, you've got another 2.5 minutes.
Well, happens if I go over.
Put them on my tab. You gotta take the food home. Put the 2 minutes on my tab.
Yeah. But seriously, I am on the last stages of my book, and my near-death experiences are in there, the life-changing experiences, and also the vision that I saw when 23 years ago of the angel that used to come and visit. I didn't know it was an angel when I was two years old, but I was told later, 23 years ago, that it was the same one that used to come and visit me in my room. So that also was a life-changing event. So it's all going to be in the book soon. But it took 10 years to write it.
Oh.
See, 10 years, Peter.
Okay.
My name is Jim Bruton, and I used to, my hobby was I would build and fly historical reproduction aircraft. And I was out on a second test flight of one of my aircraft when I lost my engine and I crashed. And I broke all my ribs, ruptured both my lungs, my right leg looked like a pretzel, all the skin on my chin was hanging down in shreds, couldn't make words, and I had a hole in my lower back. So they helicoptered me up to Hartford and put me into a coma for a week. I had multiple 6+ hour operations that I just recently found out that some of those only had a 2% chance of success, because I got my 2%. And while I was put into the coma, I pretty much woke up somewhere else. And it's a place when I was there, I just knew this is called the in-between. And what's interesting is how many other near-death experiences I've heard about reference that word as a place, sometimes almost as a verb in terms of what's going on and where you are and what's. So where I went, it was definitely not your typical NDE where it was a pleasant experience or even a hellish one. It was kind of a purgatorial looking place. And for a while, when I came back and I was trying to really figure out where I went, I wondered, was I in purgatory? I don't think so. But it was definitely a Gothic type landscape, like an abandoned city. Imagine New York if everybody left 100,000 years from now, what it might look like. And the only thing of real interest was this large egg-shaped structure made of like metal lattice work, so it had openings in it you could see through, but it was a large, like a 4-story high egg. And one of the things I was most aware of when I showed up there was I felt incredibly nauseous. I felt sick. And I said, I don't think I can stand this. And when I said that, I realized all these gears within this egg-shaped contraption started spinning around. So I made my way over to it and I looked inside, and on all of these gears, it's like each one had a video feed, and by looking at it, it would play in my head. It was like scenes from my future. Choices. There were choices yet to be made. And I thought, what is this? And basically a disembodied voice started talking to me, I guess telepathically is the way to put it. And I said, what is this? It said, this is the future birthing into the now. And that is why it was shaped like an egg, because it represented becoming. It made sense, right? And then, even stranger, the gears were all what we call sector gears. And it's a partial arc of a gear, meaning it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you find them in clock-like mechanisms. If you're seeing a representation of events in your life that obviously have a beginning, a middle, and an end, it's kind of logically consistent. And I don't know why, but I reached inside to touch one of the gears and I felt incredible additional pain. And in a reflex, I just grabbed it and pulled it out and threw it away. And then all the gears start spinning around. I said, what's going on now? It says, your future is having to refit itself to a moment that is now no more. I mean, you can't show up in a boardroom 20 years from now as a gaping black hole, right? The universe has to refit itself. And then I just did it again and again and again and again. And if I were in a coma for a week and I did it without stop about once a minute, I realized it came out to 10,080 times. And I find it interesting that in ancient Chinese, 10,000 means infinity, because it felt like it. In fact, I remember starting to get really tired of watching these gears spin around over and over. It was like torture. But anyway, the idea was to clean up my future, to remove, let's say, bad choices. And I was even told, just because you don't make bad choices doesn't mean you won't make wrong choices. But your intention is different now. And I remember also noticing the pile of growing gears I was throwing away. I made a comment like, is my life going to be shorter? It said, your number of breaths are already counted. I'll worry about your last one. And said also, if those who make poor use of for those who make poor use of their choices, having fewer may be mercy. And then I came back after a week and really had to sort out. I mean, my memory really came back a week later after the coma in a rehab hospital, and that's where I kind of started putting it all together, and here I am. Thank you.
Those who know me, I go by Rob, that's my name, not my job. I'm an LCSW, I do psychotherapy. Been told I might need it myself, but anyway, I've been doing it for 25 years. My experience was January 2nd, 1991. I just gotten engaged to my current wife, and I was coming back to take her out for breakfast that morning, and I came up to her apartment complex, and the green arrow, because it's in California, the green arrow turned into our complex, turned yellow. We all know what that means, right? It means speed up.
Speed up.
Yeah, speed up. So as I sped up to make it from under the freeway, comes a truck. And at that point, I realized there's no way I'm stopping. I'm clicking 30. He's probably going about 40. Before we connected, I both felt and could almost see myself leave my body, go through the top of my car, and go up about 300 to 400 feet. I could care less what was happening back there. I'm just going, this is cool, man. I just love this. I'm out here looking around going, wow. I felt so liberated. I could see with clarity that I'd never seen before. I looked up way off in the distance, I saw something golden, but it's way up there. Then I heard the words, all children are mine. okay? Now, I have to preface this. Prior to this experience, I had been a licensed Southern Baptist minister. For those who do not know, that's contrary to the Southern Baptist belief. Then I came back. I will tell you, I don't fear dying or going to the other side. It will be painless. It's coming back that hurts like hell, okay? That's what hurts. And they raced me to the hospital. I was in phenomenal shape at that time. Hard to believe. But anyway, I was running about 60 miles a week and was running marathons. So I was in terrific shape. And they got there and they just shook their heads. We don't know why. The only thing you have is these stitches right here. All right? Real quick, for those who do not know, there's a Chinese reading called Xiangmen, Chinese face reading. If you have a deep brow or a scar right here, you're considered spiritual. I didn't do much with it because I was kind of angry at Christianity for what I had done. I don't sound stupid, but I was angry that when God said all children are mine, I had not always respected other people's faiths or beliefs. So I stepped away for quite a while, but I spoke in synchronicity, those who were here. Things started opening up, all right? Got into grad school, became a mission, and all kinds of things started opening up. And then in 2013, again, synchronicity, I ended up going to One Spirit Seminary in New York City. It's a 2-year program. They teach you all the religions, all the major religions, and then they teach you how to do the work of a minister, and you get ordained through them. In 2013, during a meditative state with 60 other students, I had what they call it depends how you look at it, it spoke both ways, an NDLE, which is a near-death-like experience, or you might hear it as a spiritually transformative experience. All right? They're used interchangeably. That was so phenomenal that it completely changed the way I saw life and everything, the love that I received. I was in a dark space when I didn't go anywhere. I was just there. I didn't travel. I was just there. And I looked up and said, oh, it's you, but I have no idea what that means today. And then my whole body got infused with the most incredible love that I can ever say. It was so far beyond anything I can express in words. For those who have children, if you remember your first child, you brought it home and you looked down at it. A minute left?
Yeah.
Okay, half. It's 100 million times better than that. And since then, that has been what has, it's just gradually, and the same words, all children are mine, were repeated. Thank you.
Wow. Who would like to follow that?
Yeah.
Well, TJ, would you please? Or you want to let-
Okay, sure. And I get the extra minutes. I'm TJ, and I think almost everybody here has heard me speak. I guess that I'm rather special in that I have, depending on with whom I'm speaking, I've had 4 or 5 near-death experiences. I've had multiple out-of-body experiences. I've been hit twice by lightning. My car's been hit by lightning. An airplane I was in was hit by lightning. I recently had a stroke.
Yeah, get back, everybody.
And they say lightning doesn't strike
Yeah.
the same place twice.
Yeah.
Lightning doesn't strike
Well,
the same.
it hit me twice, and I
With
survived.
the Powerball.
And I guess the most important thing happened to me was when I was 7, and I had a truly mystical experience when I was surrounded by wonderful, wonderful gold light. And I was 7, and I said, I am ready. If this is all you want for me to have of life, then I'm ready to go with you. And this voice answered me. I only know it was a mellifluous male voice. No, you have much to do in my name. And that was my transformative experience. And I can't say I always stayed with it, but I certainly have given it a good shot. And to me, the various different kinds of experiences are significant, but more significant is how they changed my life and how they changed my outlook. And the most recent one was during my stroke. I don't know what happened. I know that I had had pains on the right side of my head. I was found on the ground where I had been trimming hedges. I had hit my head and had a severe concussion, hit it on a rock I had planted there 50 years earlier. And my neighbor found me, who I had never met, who was a nurse. And 3 days later, not to upstage you, but I arose again from the dead. And I also had the experience that Tina had, was that I had had trouble with my eyes. I have a hole in my eye permanently, but I was able to focus better. I was able to see colors, which I was not seeing well for several years. My hearing was better. My ability to, even my sense of touch was more refined. I just had more insight into things, and I just feel I went through a period which I shared with you before when I was really not believing in anything, and I realized that what the experience for all of us is that if I made a contract, it was to experience as much as I can. And I think that I've been fulfilling that, or it has been being fulfilled on me, in that I keep having these different levels. And I realized only a few days ago that in each of those, my career changed. I started to doing other things, and now I'm focusing much more on helping other people. And the latest thing that happened to me was in the Shinto shrines on this trip that I took to the Orient. I realized that that really is where the basis of all of spirituality comes from. It's really from nature and from animism, and that we really are connected in one. And I also realized how inadequate the terms are that we try to use because we're only human, and to try to explain supernatural experiences in human words, we're limited by words, number one, by our own limited experience, number two. But 3 days before I came home, I had been advised by a number of you, and the first was Tina, who very generously said, after I spoke exactly a year ago, you really should write your story in a book. And I woke up on the boat, and I had already 2 chapters completely revealed to me. And I don't know whether it was channeling, whether it was subconscious. I still don't know. Much of the reading I'm doing now is showing me that there is a tremendous amount of the brain that we aren't using. And part of it is we just have to open our minds. Okay? Which finger was that? But that's my story, and I just urge everyone, be open and practice these things that we hear about, because it makes your life much better. At least it has mine. And I don't know anyone who has listened to the inner voice who hasn't benefited from it. So thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. You know, whatever your belief is, basically it's the same. It's the golden rule. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And James, you want the microphone?
I do. If no one uses it, we'd feel ridiculous.
Yeah.
We used it.
Well, first of all, it was wonderful, and everybody's was really. I have a haiku about what you were saying about including everything. It goes like this. Include everything you can. You're not inside the bubble. The bubble's in you.
Oh. Yeah.
James.
Closer. Also, I was thinking about what you were saying, and it's amazing to me when people describe these unbelievably horrific things that happen to them. They kind of skip right over the pain. And the pain you must have endured is like,
It's a footnote.
A
to a
footnote.
greater experience.
Wow.
And honestly, it was worth it.
Wow, nice. Well, I was making a list here of experiences that I think would sort of fit in to this group. And I was kind of amazed. It's a long list. And I never had written it down before. I've always thought of separate little things. I've never connected them. So that reminds me that the first time I came and spoke here, I realized beforehand that I had had an NDE, but had never labeled it that way. And so I told everybody what it was. It was the first time I'd ever told anybody about it. So this group has some kind of a magic power, I think. That's wonderful. I'm just going to read the list and we'll go from there. I resurrected a squirrel. That really made me happy. I had a very intense experience of what Meher Baba calls the subtle plane. Is anybody familiar with Meher Baba? He's famous for originating the phrase, "Don't worry, be happy." It sounds easy, but just try it. So my experience with the subtle plane was as I was driving home with my friend from having visited his spiritual center, which is in Myrtle Beach. All of a sudden, the light changed. And as we rode along in the car, suddenly I could feel intensely what each person we were passing along the way was feeling. And it was like little explosions of exactly what they were feeling and to some extent what they were thinking. You could kind of conclude that. And I was driving too. And I was just so shocked about it. And I asked my friend, is anything going on with you? And he explained that the same thing was happening to him. So that was really wonderful. The subtle plane, just as a footnote, Meher Baba teaches that there are three worlds, if you will, three domains. The physical, which we're very familiar with, the subtle, which is about energies, and the mental, which is about ideation. And as we live our lives, we pass from one to the other. And it always goes from physical to subtle to mental, and then we experience it. And then when we want to do something about it, it goes back through from mental to subtle to physical. And the organ that translates between the physical and the mental has a name, and it's called the heart. So the reason why I went into that is because to understand the process of dying, and whatever the proper word is, I think you have to start with the process of living, and then what happens when that comes to an end. So that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to figure that out. And I'll just conclude with Einstein was asked about death and what's the truth of death, and he said, death is like a black box. You can't see inside, and you can't get out.
Oh.
That's good.
Yes, we can. There you go. It's like a telephone.